hello, and welcome everybody to Beyond the Headlines, the weekly program where we look at current affairs issues which would have made headlines the prior week, and the topical issues of the day. For the past week, there has been an upping of the ante, so to speak, on the industrial front. Tonight, we'll be looking at the socio-economic climate in the country. We know that there has been the struggle going on between the public sector workers and the government of Grenada over the promised 4% increase, which was implemented last year, but because of COVID-19, the government is saying we need to put a pause on this for the time being. The unions are adamant that they want the increases and they want it now. This evening we have with us the president, the Public Workers Union PRO, Ms. Daisy Hazzard. We have trade unionist Mr. Kenny James. He's the immediate past president of the Grenada Union of Teachers. And we have a cultural activist with us, Mr. Livingston Nelson. Let's welcome our panelists this evening. Lady and gentlemen, it's great to have you on Beyond the Headlines this evening.
Thank you, Odette, and it's wonderful to be here as well.
And Daisy, I hope that Mr. Grimes and company are not pulling out their daggers for me because I seem to have elevated your position in the union. My pardon, please, I beg pardon.
Absolutely, Odette, and I just want to say good night to all of the panelists and the entire listening public. And just to comment directly, tomorrow we have our AGM. Where we will be impaneling our president, Mr. Brian Grimes. Sister Rachel Roberts, the present president, will be chairing that meeting and will hand over to Brother Grimes. So tonight, as the sitting PRO, having served on the previous executive and having retained that office for the next executive, it is quite fitting that I'm here and our members are looking on, and our executive members and the incoming ones as well. So you're in good hands, Odette.
I'm in good hands. I'll have to refer that opening comment that you made to Mrs. Mason Francis, the former president of the Anglican High School. Kenny James, what's up with you? What's cooking?
Well, nothing is cooking tonight, besides Beyond the Headlines, but I'm thankful that we are at the place where I can have some vacation for the next 2 weeks, Easter break. We have conference coming up tomorrow and Wednesday. It's all good. It's all good.
And we have Mr. Livingston Nelson. He's a cultural activist and one of Grenada's icons. We're giving him all of his flowers before he decides he's kicking the bucket. Livingston, it's great to have you among friends. Livingston, if you don't unmute, we won't hear you. Man, what kind of behavior is that?
Oh, sorry. Good night to all the listeners of GBN. Good night, Odette. Thank you for having me. And of course, I am among great personalities here. My good friend Daisy and Kenny. Well, we hope to have a good session tonight.
All right, so let's get the ball rolling. And as per usual, every week, we try to make sure that people who might have missed the news, to put context to what we do, we have some inserts. We'll go to the inserts in a little bit, but we know that we've had this issue where the Public Sector Workers Union negotiated with the government for the increase, and that panned out last year, but the teachers and the public sector workers have been asked to put it on pause because of what is happening with COVID-19. And let me ask, Daisy, what's so difficult about that to understand?
Thank you, Odette, for putting me in the hot seat immediately. And there are a number of issues that the union is confronting regarding government's insistence that it will not and cannot pay the 4% increase. In the first case, there is a contractual arrangement and agreement that government of Grenada would have made with the unions back in 2019. And that agreement also lays out the parameters within which either party could say, listen, I have a situation and I cannot fulfill this legal contractual obligation as laid out. But this is what possibly can be done. So that agreement in itself, which we signed in January 2019, lays out the steps and the conditions and the ways in which a contractual agreement, if the government cannot pay for whatever reason, can come back to unions and say, can we renegotiate this thing? And what has happened in this case, Odette, despite all the protestations that government has made, despite the public campaign against unions, despite sending out all its emissaries out there in various forms and in various platforms, to decry and to denounce the unions and the public workers of this country for demanding or just increases, government has not done what it ought to do and come back to the table properly, discourse with us and come to reasonable compromise. And that is the first instance of a breach by the GOG.
Right. So, Desi, that's a breach. We saw the financial houses last year saying to you that I understand that you will breach this because you probably lost your job, you're probably on furlough, or probably your employer has entered into some kind of arrangement where they'll keep you on the staff but at a reduced pay. And so you would breach this agreement. So they've reasoned. The government has said time and again that it's met with the public sector workers union, with the teachers union, with all of its stakeholders to explain its position. How much more explaining can the government do?
All right. So Odette, let's again contextualize this thing. The last time that the Public Workers Union and the TAU, JNT, sat with government at the table was December 31st, 2020. And what the government said to us at that time was that we cannot afford to pay this money right now, and we will pay it sometime in the future whenever the fiscal space allows. This is a serious obligation. This was supposed to have been a serious discussion by unions representing workers and the government of Grenada. And certainly that dialogue cannot be placed into a contractual agreement. The GUT, the JNT, the PWU, the TAU, we cannot put that into a legal agreement that the GOG will pay the money sometime in the future whenever the fiscal space allows and go back to our workers. Certainly one would agree that we cannot do that. We wrote, the JNT again wrote to the Labour Commissioner sometime about a month ago, a little over a month ago, February 24th, indicating that we had a dispute with government, and we were asking the Commissioner of Labour, the Ministry of Labour, to intervene so that we can come to a resolution about this thing properly. We received a response from them just about 27th of March, indicating to us that they look forward to dialoguing with us and that they will be in contact with us to set a date to resume those conversations. Clearly, Odette, government seems to feel little urgency at all in addressing this matter, in coming to some sort of a reasonable solution together with the unions. And so despite what they have said out there, all the noise and everything that's been made in the public domain by the GOG again does not replace a contractual obligation and does not set out the terms and conditions of a new one. And until that is done, until we can come to terms, until government can show unions the respect and show the workers of this country, who is still standing in the front lines of COVID, protecting the nation, until that can be done properly, we are going to be out there. We are going to be sounding the horns, keeping the protest fires lighting, and demanding that government give unions and workers of this country respect.
So we're hearing this big word respect. I have a Trinidadian boss who used to say, all of these Grenadians, all you big on respect, Kenny, let the voice of reason reign here. I have heard the government say time and again in recent times that, okay, we were saying we don't know when, now we're saying no later than December 31st. What is wrong with that?
Well, again, thank you for having me, and pleasant good night to my fellow panelists, and of course, our listeners and viewers, not just Grenada, but the world. Odette, what is wrong with that? Let me tell you. And the issue of respect, yes, we are big on respect. The government took a unilateral decision that it's not going to pay, it's not going to honor the agreement. And it is saying that they're willing to pay in December. Now, here's the problem with that. One, this agreement was signed in 2018. The first payment was 2019, 2020. We're supposed to be having the other payment now. With what we have seen and what we understand, what we know from our agreement, January 2022, another 4% has to be paid. So if you are unable to pay the 2021 increases, you would have more pressure on your back come January 2022 to meet the commitments. You see, to understand it, we have to look at it. Let's break it down as simple as possible. Let's imagine that the government has an AWASA bill to pay, and that bill is about $30 a month. But it decides, listen, I am not going to pay that bill. I'm going to wait till the end of the year, and it goes playing lotto, hoping that it's going to win the lotto to pay off the bill. Now, while you're playing lotto, the amount on that bill continues to accumulate. And so come December, you would have a huge bill to pay, as opposed to if you had started the payment, and if you have some struggles during the period or during the process, you come back to the table and you have discussions. So we cannot afford, we don't believe that it is good economic practice. So put this payment down to December of this year. It is easier for the government, it is easier for the country to start the payments now. And so this is what we have been advocating as unions and unionists, that the payments start now. We don't know what would happen at the end of the year. We don't know if the conditions would get better. We don't know if they would get worse. Right? Based on the COVID situation, anything can happen.
But Kenny, if I could interrupt you here, right? If I could interrupt you, you are saying that you think it is better to start now, and you're wondering about if the government will go to the lotto and if they have an AWASA bill to pay, right? I've heard the unions complaining about the fact that the government found the money to pay the Grenlec bill, to pay for the shares in Grenlec. Let's make that clear. And so the government probably knows that it has some stocks and some bonds that may mature in November, and as such, when it gets the funds therefrom, it could settle its bill with the unions. And so the government is planning and is forward thinking. And so why not allow the government the opportunity to probably fail at December 31st, and then you can say, well, you promised and you failed it for a second time. What makes you think that the government won't find the money to pay you in December? It seems to be able to come up with monies in December because the Grenlec transaction took place in December, no?
But all of these, Odette, are assumptions. What you've just placed here has never been placed on the table by the government. What the government has given is basically an empty promise. And we cannot accept that. The membership of our public sector unions cannot accept that you're just going to pay in December. There's nothing indicating to us, you have not provided any evidence that the economy would improve or it would get better, or you are going to get some grant from somewhere that's going to help you to pay. There's nothing like that on the table. So it is difficult for us to just accept a promise that you are going to pay in December.
But there's a thing called trust, Kenny.
I agree. And it's instructive that you raise this issue of trust, because I believe this is one of the critical issues that is affecting the process of collective bargaining in Grenada between government of Grenada and public sector unions. There are a number of issues, there are a number of situations that would have confronted our unions, which indicate that the government is not pro-public sector. It's unfortunate. You go back to the fact that when actions were taken in relation to the pension situation, salaries were docked. In addition to that, the pension agreement, the so-called pension agreement that was signed, you go around and do the survey. There are people who are retiring today who are not even getting that benefit. And the same administration would have indicated that pension has been restored. So there is an issue of trust. And the government, the administration, would have to do a lot to build back that level of trust between public sector unions and the government. where when the government says to you, it's yea, you can accept that it is yea, and you could sit comfortably with that. We have not had that kind of experience in the recent past, and so that is posing a challenge in this entire process.
Okay, so I want to go to Livingston, but before I do, I want to cross back to Daisy. Daisy, tell the person who is distracting you they need to lose themselves until 10 o'clock. Tell them don't distract you, please. I see you gesticulating, hands all up in the air. So just
sorry, Odette, I have done, and we actually thought that I was off your frame because Brother Kenny was in. Yes.
Okay, good. So, Daisy, your complaint apparently is, let's just say the solution is the government comes tomorrow, say let's meet at the Ministry of Labour, I'm going to put this promissory note in writing. Is that going to bring an end to this impasse?
Odette, we are looking for resolution. We would like to come to a resolution. But to piggyback on what Brother Kenny has said, there is very little premise, there is very little historical precedence on which the unions can have any confidence or any faith and trust in the words and even signed agreements that the GOG makes with unions. Again, we look at the MOU that was signed on the eve of the 2018 elections, promising to restore pension and gratuity rights, which is constitutionally all right. We look at legal proceedings won in court by public servants who has been hurt and harmed by government. Let's say in the person of Gemma Bain Thomas. She has a judgment in the court that is, I think, just a little about 400,000 EC dollars, not 100 million US dollars, not 63 million US dollars. Government refuses to pay that. She has won that matter on every single level of our court or legal system in Grenada. The government refuses to pay. Look at the 4% issue again, which is a contractual and legally binding obligation, which government has just blatantly refused to pay. Again, when public workers strike, to restore their constitutional pension and gratuity rights, this government, in a draconian and unprecedented move, hurt workers even more by docking their salaries. So on what basis, even when we return to the table, what is the basis for us to believe that somehow in December, just a mere 8 months from now, GOG is going to find that money, and if a new agreement is signed, uphold it, honor it. I think what we really would want from the GOG, in addition to anything, if we have to make some compromise, is an act of good faith at this time. There are dock salaries to be repaid. There is Gemma Bain Thomas to be paid. There's a number of things that can be done by the government to say we are willing to work with unions in good faith to restore confidence and trust that the government of Grenada, this administration, honors and respects and upholds the sacrifices that public officers, policemen, teachers, nurses, doctors, our prison authorities and so. It's a wide cross-section. It's not just 2 or 3 unions. It's many of us. It's thousands of Grenadians. And so we need that. There must be some action of good faith.
Okay, so Daisy, why is this beginning to sound as though it's just a whole big callaloo soup and it's not just 4%? And we're saying 4%. I heard you say a short while ago, and you kind of pound the table that the drumming will continue and there'll be the music and there'll be the noise. I want to go to the 4% chant and come back to Livingston and that. So we have an insert, the 4% chant, which I think was very poignant last week. Let's go to the 4% chant. We'll come back.
Yes.
While people are looking at the economics and the battle is raging between the government and the unions, some people noted that particular chant last week and they thought, Livingston probably has something to do with this. You had anything to do with that?
Had nothing to do with that. Nothing at all.
That was just to tease you, right? But some people were saying they were noticing the kind of jab chant, came out in that whole display there. 4%. There was this poignant poise, and then there was 4% and the beating of the drums. You link culture and struggle. How did you see that play out last week?
Well, let me just say, I think we are very creative people. We are Caribbean, we are Grenadian. We had a slogan one time in Tivoli Drum, as they said, "Drum in my blood, drum in me blood." So I think, and there's the next one that said how much, 100,000 jab jab. So I guess that is still in us. But apart from that, I believe what I am really hearing from the other panelists, and probably what caused that almost on the street, is simply because there seems to be a feeling of bottleneck. People feel there's a bottleneck situation in Grenada. And Odette, when you mentioned, I don't believe it's just the 4%. There has been some years now where there seem to be very disregard, scant courtesies being played to the unions, particularly to the teachers. Measures are being taken that alienate, that marginalize, that where people feel marginalized and alienated. The merit system is no longer in vogue. I was one time an athlete, and I remember, you go and you train, and you hope that because of your training, you would increase on your timing. And if someone has beat you, that person must at least be better on the day. So they have to take you down. They must be faster, or they must have more stamina, or they could jump longer, whatsoever. And then you accept that you would get second place and third place. We have a whole change in our culture right now where the merit system is out of the door, and there seems to be a disdain for other persons, other groups that is, not part of the government think tank. And so culture is, every time a group of people feel that sense of repression, they go back to what they know. And what they know is the cultural expression, the anger. If you look at what happened probably in South Africa during the apartheid system, you had the gumboot dance that evolved out of the miners struggling. You had the Xhosa dancers, you had the Zulu dancers, the whole movement being displayed on the street. If you go back again in Grenada towards the Gary days, you had Gary associating with the workers in such a way, with the steel band, with the drums, with the choir. Everywhere he went, there seemed to be some kind of art form, some kind of cultural display. So and then people feel that urge. Remember again the $1 million march in America, where people start chanting all spiritual songs. So that always comes to the fore in times of struggle. So it is not new, it is not strange. Do you expect Grenadians protesting against what they feel levels of alienation and marginalization? Do you expect them to behave as if they go into Palm Sunday? I don't think so. So I think what we are experiencing, or what you saw on the street, is true in form to what personally people feeling oppressed and repressed and marginalized and alienated would do. And I think the group in particular, I believe, that I believe expressive, seem to be feeling that greater level of alienation. More than anything else, I think, are the teachers. Public workers, yes, but the teachers, because there are so many instances where the teachers have no chance of moving up the ladder. They have no chance at all except to the party line. And that created that bottleneck situation in Grenada. Must bring out the rebel in us. And our rebellion, our sanity is locked into our cultural expression.
Yeah. So Kenny, we want to cross the commercial break, but quickly in 30 seconds, was that protest or was that defiance? Because it seems as though that's something that was cleverly thought out. So that was defiance more than protest. Yes, Kenny.
It was both. Remember, drumming was abolished on the plantation because the planter felt it was the means by which the blacks were going to communicate with each other. So anytime they had the opportunity to drum, it was to defy the plantocracy. And so it's in our culture, it's in our blood. We are Africans. And as a result of that, the rhythm of the drum is going to drive us on the street. In America, the Negro hymns came to the fore while they were in the fields. In the Caribbean is the drumming. And out of the drumming came the expressions and the music, the dance, the calypso. So once we are in a place of struggle, the default would take.
All right, but I hope you have heard, and we'll deal with that a little later in the program, that you can plan to be as defiant as you want, but you'll be met with decisive action. It's on that point that we take a commercial break, and when we come back, we look at the statement from the Royal Grenada Police Force and some inserts from the address given by the Honorable Education Minister last Wednesday. Please stay with us.
There's a reason we have been here to serve you for the past 40 years. A reason we have continued to grow. A reason we have continued to celebrate. That reason is you. We have been here to help you plan for your future and here to help you celebrate your achievements. We continue to be here even when the future seems unclear. Because one thing is certain. You're the reason we care.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
You're already ill and have no time or energy to walk every which way to access your healthcare needs. So come to Spice Isle Imaging on the Carenage for a one-spot stop for all your health service needs. See our in-house doctor and get your meds from the pharmacy right on location. Digital X-ray, MRI, CT scans, mammography, ultrasound and laboratory services are also available. So for that moment when life makes demands on you, you can make demands on us. Visit us at Spice Isle Imaging, Carenage, St. George's.
Do you know what time it is? You guessed right, it's detox time again. At Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center and Natural Health Store. Purchase our 7-day cleansing pack for only $500. Includes everything you need for a complete total body cleanse. Cleanse your blood, kidney, liver, and colon. This cleanse will help you lighten up and get rid of the excess. Also available are our special product Detox Combo Pack for only $100. Try our single detox products starting from $40. Check us out now. Belmont St. George's, close to the Fall Edge area, or call us on 231-6642, 449-7753, or 418-7115. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. Detox, your way to health.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex, or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
Every action we take impacts the lives of others around us. The Grenlec Community Partnership Initiative, GCPI, has been working with Grenadian organizations to impact communities directly. Giving back to communities we serve is fundamental to the way we do business. And every year, more lives are touched across Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. In education, sports, health, infrastructure, social services, and beyond.
We are taking pride in outstanding performance. We are encouraging and recognizing innovation. We are committed to continuously doing things better, with enhanced services coming soon. Yes, we are here for you. Check us out today for your financial need. GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
We are all essential in the fight against COVID-19.
At Courts, we're doing our part and we encourage you to stay at home, stay safe and shop online at www.shopcourts.com.
For added convenience, our Courts online customers will receive free delivery and get up to 20% off televisions, appliances and homewares. Plus, if you shop with Ready Finance, you will pay nothing down for 60 days. Now, you can stay home, shop online, and save.
Remember, do the essential. Wear a mask, wash your hands, practice social distancing, stop the spread.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we'll be looking at the socioeconomic climate in the country. This evening, we have Ms. Daisy Hazzard. She's the Public Relations Officer of the Public Workers Union, immediate past President of Grenada Union of Teachers, Mr. Kenny James, and cultural activist, Mr. Livingston Nelson. Before the break, we were looking at the whole issue of why we are at this stage and looking at the link between culture and struggle. Kenny, I want to come back on you because people are concerned that the teachers' union, which seem to have taken the lead on this issue, is a very uncaring union. And they say that against the backdrop that, yes, you are struggling for what is rightfully yours, but at the same time, you are leaving children in jeopardy. And some parents are saying that you sometimes put them, and I'm using the word collectively here, meaning some of the teachers and some of the administrators are putting children in harm's way. One parent, for instance, said she dropped her child to school, and at 10:30 she was just called and told, come and take your child, get your child home, because we're going in tongue and jump up. Is that a responsible thing to do? Added to the fact that we understand that there was a silent protest where students will turn up and teachers will just place work on the board and not speak to them? Come on, Kenny, explain that to us.
Odette, we had some time ago a press conference where I addressed this issue. One of the things, the fallacies that we have in our society is that everybody could teach. And I agree, each of us in one way or another could teach. But when we talk about structured instruction, when we talk about formal schooling, what we do is an art. What we do is a science. We are trained in pedagogy. Now, we may not be able to go to the court and fight the case as a lawyer, because we're not lawyers. We may not be able to go into the theater and open someone and conduct a surgery, because we're not surgeons, we're not doctors. But we are teachers, we are educators, and we know how to teach, we know what strategies to utilize to reach our students. And I would further say to you that silence and the use of silence in the classroom is actually a teaching strategy. It's a strategy that can be used in the language, in teaching language. So I would leave that for you to further explore. When there's industrial action and the children would go to school and so on, the administrators have a responsibility. And we expect that in any situation, whenever the union calls its workers out, that the administrators would perform their administrative duty. We have a duty to care, and we understand that. So this is not about not caring. This is not about leaving the students to do what they want to do. We have a situation, and to address this situation, we must take certain action. I don't believe there's anybody in Grenada care about children more than teachers. And we have proven that. When we took the streets on the pension issue, that year, we had some of the best results that we've seen in this country. At all levels, the work of teachers, when we stayed home for 9 days and our salaries were docked.
Kenny, I think it is essential. It is essential.
Because we need to make this point. This is the essence of it. During the COVID last year, we had excellent results. Again, it goes to show that teachers of this country, we know what we're doing and we could get the job done.
Kenny, are we bending and twisting facts to our convenience? Is that the devil quoting scripture for his convenience? Aren't we aware that some of the academic institutions such as CXC might have made adjustments in the way they judge the exams? We know that SBAs and all of those things were part of the problem last year, and so they might have reduced on. So can the reports of last year really can be viewed within the frame of the teachers having taught better?
Odette,
like really?
If we are going to go the line that you're going, then you're questioning the authenticity of the CSEC examination. Now, regardless of what is done, across the board, CXC must ensure that regardless of what is done, that it maintains a certain quality. So they would know what they're doing at their levels. But the fact remains that while the rest of the region may have been in an outcry over these results and the performances, clearly in Grenada, we saw that our students performed credibly at all levels, which is a reflection of the input of the students and more so the work, the collective efforts of our teachers here. We can't get away from these facts.
We can belabor that point for the rest of the evening. And I think that, we have to have a debate. We get a panel of people together to talk just about that. Because we would have heard, for instance, that, the Ministry of Education is saying, well, because of the circumstances, we are going to give the students at the exit levels a certain pass. And students to come into Form 1, we will make this particular arrangement. So I think that bullet here, Chester Humphrey has a thing he likes to say to keep your powder dry. I think that powder has to be kept dry.
I can't allow this to just slide because we cannot give the world the impression that the Ministry of Education, that CXC as a regional examination body is just doing vai and just lowering the standards to just allow things to happen.
And nobody said so. Kenny, nobody said so. We are not questioning. We are not questioning the authenticity of the exams. Let's forget Grenada, right? Let's go to the UK, where there was a hue and a cry. Similarly, because of the lockdown last year, because of COVID, we had a lot of the students complaining about their grades because the way it was aggregated was totally different from the way it was done over the years. So I'm just putting that in context. Let's rest that on the table for what it's worth. We agree to disagree on that. Let's go back to silence. Let's go back to silence. Daisy, I have a question for you as a parent How do you feel when your student comes home and say, Mommy, I went to school today and the teacher ain't talked to me. The teacher ain't said nothing to me, Mommy. Daisy, how you feel as a parent? Forget your PW hat now.
Odette, I'm glad that you posed this question to me because, as you know, or should I remind you, I am first an educator. I'm a trained and qualified teacher. I spent 16 years in the teaching service. I also have worked in the Ministry of Education for the last 15 or so years. So I am an educator. So I can speak to this from the perspective of a teacher, educator, and a parent. As Brother Kenny would have pointed out, there is no doubt about the care and the duty of care that teachers give to students. There is no doubt at all that teaching is a labor of love, that the things that teachers do day after day, we cannot compensate them financially for it. And so I have to balance the teacher going out there, putting himself on the line, even during the pandemic, when there was no mechanisms put in place by the Ministry of Education ahead of time. Teachers started the ball rolling, instructing their students online, using their phones, using their little broken-down tablets and laptops, using their own Wi-Fi, all of the resources until the ministry put things in place. Even now, they continue to do it. And so can we say that at no point in time at all, a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, a policeman, any civil servant who lays their life on the line day after day in service to this country, that there is no premise, there is no condition under which that person can feel, look, I need to withdraw my labor. It is going to hurt me. Leaving your students in the classroom, having to go on the street, it's a painful thing. No teacher wants to do it. I can tell you that, Odette. But at times it has to be done. And so it has to be, we have to look at it in balance. That's the balance that we have to look at it in. We cannot expect that the teacher will just be there, like the beast of burden, that the nurse, the doctor, the maid, the cleaner, the engineer, the IT person will just be there as the beast of burden, carrying Grenada on its back. And there is never a time when we are going to say, this load is a little heavy. I have to rest it down for just a minute. My society, my parents, bear with me because I have a just cause that I must represent. And that is what we have been doing these past couple weeks and months.
So you agree with the silent treatment, Daisy?
Odette, I am saying that there are times in as much as we go the extra mile as the Bible exhorts us to for our students and all the publics that we serve, there comes a time when sometimes you do have to do what is painful for even you so that we can establish a framework within which there is ease, there's goodwill within the industrial relations, where teachers can feel satisfied, where public servants can feel, I am going to work, I can give it all of my best, more than 100%, because I'm satisfied that my employer is meeting me part of the way. But when you have a system where the employer is not meeting us anywhere at all, when you have an administration that seems to want to demonize, to denounce, to decry civil servants, when we have been making the sacrifices, Odette, our healthcare personnel, our tax collectors, our border, immigration, customs, the Coast Guard of Grenada, we have been putting our lives on the line day after day in safeguard of this country. We have done that. The persons who work on the COVID units, the police officers who went out there last year at the height of the lockdown, laboring night and day with no further increases in salaries, no benefits, no insurance that can cover. What if you're looking after a patient or the COVID ward and you get infected? What has been put in place to protect and to safeguard these workers? Nothing, absolutely nothing. We have been out there, we have done it. We look at the statistics in the region, we look at Jamaica, Barbados, St. Lucia, we look at the caseload, the death load. We look at the statistics in relation to COVID-19. And it's not that Grenada is blessed and a fortunate country. God is certainly looking over us as he's doing all the regional islands. But there is something that we have done in Grenada collectively that has caused us today to be in the position where we are, even during this pandemic. And that was done, Odette, and led by our public servants. And so, yes, there certainly must come a time when the public have to agree with us and the public have to hear our cry and support us. And no teacher, again, wants to leave their students unattended. Parents, we're asking you to work with us.
So, Livingston, you're sitting there as a silent judge and you've heard both sides. And what's your ruling?
Well, I think earlier on I stated I don't believe that the whole idea, the concern expressed by the public workers union, but in particular the teachers, are just about the 4%. And, when you ask a question and you ask Daisy about if it was her child, in my mind, I played that. And I said, it would be such a painful thing to know you have your child in school and then, they go to school and that is what is meted out to them. But then again, on the other hand, you look at if you're traveling in a plane and everyone is actually feeling sick, I think it is very important that the pilot is treated in such a way that they can carry the rest of the passengers to safe journey. And that is how I look at the road, particularly of the teachers. So let me just look at some of the treatment. I don't believe it's just the 4%. So let us look at some of the treatment. Recently, as far as back as 2018, I've been keeping count that a few teachers were invited to go on a training to China, and all of them are called by the minister. Lately, to be a principal, schools that have vacancy, the teachers there already know that they need no apply because that call would be coming from the minister to say, well, listen, here we are, that XYZ would be the new principal. In a sense, this year, even last year, 2019, Teachers College had no teacher. Teachers were prevented from going to Teachers College. Imanis alone were enrolled in Teachers College. Is there a war declared against all teachers in this country?
Stick a pin here. Let me just ask you to stick a pin here. And I'm asking you to do that for legal reasons. We need to be careful with the claims that we made. That discussion did come up, and I did ask the minister about that, and it was discussed. So I'm saying, let's just be careful, because I don't want the Minister for Education or the government sending a lawsuit in front of the door at GBN tomorrow morning. But as long as you have facts that you can support, but I'm just saying, disclaimer, the views expressed are those of Mr. Livingston Nelson and not the Grenada Broadcasting Network.
Not the Grenada Broadcasting Network. All right. So, next thing that is happening, message was sent out to principals, where the regular relationship that teachers, that schools had with the village shop to get goods for school feeding. This has been changed. Have big corporate companies ensuring that they supply the schools with school feeding program. In case there is a pie boss or any work to be done now in the school, the last meeting with principals, companies were already hired in order to ensure that they are the ones that is going to do the work in schools. So the point I'm making, Odette, is that a lot has been going on in terms of to stifle and to create a set of bottleneck for teachers and to prevent that growth, that upward mobility. So when I mentioned earlier on about the merit system is no longer in operation, I'm saying that knowing that how much it is hurting teachers that you are going to do all this work. The salaries were down. Apart from that, the idea of being mobile, of having mobility within the profession seems very, very difficult. I don't know if persons like Kenny can testify or have any knowledge of how many of the technical staff in the Ministry of Education were replaced or removed or sent to our next other department. So all these things are creating a lot of conflict in the Ministry of Education and for the teachers. So yes, in order for we to go forward, the situation, the problem that is facing the Ministry of Education and teachers must be addressed. And in the process, all of us here are sitting and benefiting from persons that struggled before. And right. We are here, taking advantage of that, from the blood and sweat. So yes, the teachers have to struggle, the public workers have to struggle to create a better future for all of us. And so in the process, some people would be hurt. And we cannot avoid that. But it needs to be done. There is a need for that to be done.
So you're calling that collateral damage, I suppose. It is moving on to 28 minutes after the hour. We need to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll hear from the Education Minister. We'll have excerpts from her national address last week. And we'll continue discussions looking, as the Minister outlined, some of the steps that were taken in the last couple of years to improve the plight of the teachers and overall the education system. Do stay with us on Beyond the Headlines.
I'm a winner. You are winner. We are winners, winners.
It's the big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one little ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
'Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3194 for today, Monday, March 29th, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Jocelyn Clark from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and in a way tampered with. At this time, you have tickets at hand because you're about to play for a jackpot of $110,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. This evening's free ticket letter is check your tickets. Your free ticket letter for this evening is H, as in hand. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck. First up for this evening is check your tickets in meantime. First number for this evening is 20. Second number. Second number is 18. Third number. Third number is 15, followed by 11. Fifth and final number. Final number is 27. Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 20. The second, 18. Third, 15, followed by 11. Fifth and final is 27. So that's 20, 20, 18, 18, 15, 15, 11, 11, and 27, 27. Your free ticket letter for this evening is H, as in hand. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto Draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. Remember, you play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, support sports, culture, and the nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
By now, you should know that the early bird catches the worm. So, what are you waiting for? Put wings to your feet and head to your nearest scratch seller. For every quick sevens scratch ticket you buy at $2, the NLA gives you 7 chances at winning as much as $7,000. Scratch the entire play area for your 7 chances at revealing as much sevens and win the corresponding prizes. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
Every action we take impacts the lives of others around us. The Grenneck Community Partnership Initiative, GCPI, has been working with Grenadian organizations to impact communities directly. Giving back to communities we serve is fundamental to the way we do business. And every year, more lives are touched across Grenada, Carriacou, and Petite Martinique. In education, sports, health, infrastructure, social services, and beyond.
Do you know what time it is? You guessed right, it's detox time again. At Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. Purchase our 7-day cleansing pack for only $500. Includes everything you need for a complete total body cleanse. Cleanse your blood, kidney, liver, and colon. This cleanse will help you lighten up and get rid of the excess. Also available are our special product Detox Combo Pack for only $100. Try our single detox products starting from $40. Check us out now. Belmont St. George's, close to the Fall Edge area, or call us on 231-6642, 449-7753, or 418-7115. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. Detox, your way to health.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking Ruby gas?
Get Rubis, get going.
Accidents always seem to happen at the worst possible moment, but with Caribbean Alliance, there will be a light at the end of the tunnel. Our home insurance policy provides comprehensive cover for both buildings and content, including the important peril of hurricane, earthquakes and fire, loss of rent or alternative accommodations following a loss. Our comprehensive motor coverage provides a full package, but we have the flexibility to provide the third-party cover as well. We are also the leading provider of insurance to the business community across the region, catering for all types of clients, from startup companies to international entities. We pride ourselves on our technical resources and ability to understand your business. Allow us to develop a special insurance package designed for you, including but not limited to homes, contents, motor, liability, business, and marine. Caribbean Alliance Insurance. Tomorrow, secure.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we're looking at the socioeconomic climate in the country. Last week, we had protests in the street of St. George by teachers. It has been ongoing for the better part of this year. It started off when the semester started. And we have our panelists with us this evening, Mr. Kenny James, immediate past president of the Grenada Union of Teachers, Ms. Daisy Hazzard, she is the Public Relations Officer of the Public Workers Union, and cultural activist, Mr. Livingston Nelson. And as promised, we have some excerpts from the Minister of Education's speech last week, which we will share with you shortly. But I just want to share some feedback coming in on social media. We always so appreciate when we get feedback. We have one person saying, I'm just wondering if you were not able to get a government representative to be on this panel. This discourse is very one-sided. Someone else says, it seems like the host is living in the next country, or she have the government back. Thank you so much for the feedback. We really appreciate it. Let me just let people know that Daisy and I are schoolmates of the Anglican High Schools. Kenny and I share church affiliations, and I just so happen to like to listen to the discourse and the spin on things put by Mr. Livingston Nelson, especially when he's dealing with cultural issues. So there we go. Don't make this personal. We discuss what we have to discuss, and we remain friends. So, Kenny, you owe it to the children. That's what the Minister for Education is saying. Let's hear her excerpt, and we come back for more discussion on that.
Center of the spate of recent protest actions. The government of Grenada, as an employer, has been transparent in its response to the situation at hand. Government has made it clear to the Grenada Union of Teachers that as a result of the significant drop in revenue due to the impact of COVID-19, it is unable to meet its commitment in a timely manner. The government's negotiating team further advised that the government would make every effort to make good on its commitment on or before December 31st this year, once the financial situation improves sufficiently. Nevertheless, the union continues to demand this payment and demand that it must be made, resorting to industrial actions to bolster its demands, which is in its right to so do.
Kenny, you happy with that? She acknowledges it is within your rights to so do? You need to unmute your mic, Kenny.
Right. I am unmuted.
Great.
Yes, I said to my trade union colleagues and comrades that I am happy that across Grenada now, it is recognized that as a people, we have a right to take industrial action. So we are getting somewhere. There was a time when the narrative was, you should not be doing that. You're out of place. Now we are advancing somewhat because there's a recognition that we have done. Odette, it's important that we understand. As our parliament exercise their parliamentary sovereignty, and that is to make law. As a people, we have our political sovereignty that we can exercise. And at any point that we feel as a people that our administrators are not acting in our best interests, that our administrators are not abiding by the rule of law, it is important that we utilize our political sovereignty to say to them, guys, listen, we are not satisfied. And this is what is happening in Grenada. This is what is across this country. There are a number of issues, and I think Livingston is right when he said that there are a number of issues that have been happening, taking place in this society that is creating an environment where there's a pot that's being boiled. And at some point, there's going to be an overflow if we don't manage these things well. Right? We have a country that we live in, that we enjoy. We understand that there are some challenges, but in everything, we must be fair. In everything, we must be just. In everything, we must recognize that as a citizenry, as the public officers, that we have a major contribution to make in terms of the overall governance of the country. We tend to operate as if the public servant is an enemy. But in the whole construct of a government, the cabinet has its place, the executive, the judiciary, the legislature, but the public service is an integral part because we are the drivers of the policy. We're the ones that make it happen in the ministries, in the country, and there must be greater appreciation for this fact.
All right, so Kenny, let me ask you, Kenny, you need to do something about your audio because I don't know if you've put on a fan or something, but there is something. If you could reset your settings.
It's not at my end. Somebody else's mic maybe needs to be muted.
Okay, so Livingston or somebody, while Kenny's speaking, there's a feedback coming from somewhere that we didn't have at the start of the program. So we'll try to get that fixed. Let's go back to another insert from the Minister of Education, and we are going to jump forward to an insert where she spoke about the upgrades and the financing being pumped into the education system. So let's take that insert and then we come back for more discussions.
Last year, the government committed over $50 million towards improving and expanding our schools. And work now continues throughout the length and breadth of Grenada to enhance the teaching and learning environment. Similarly, we are committed to enhancing access to technology and are investing over $35 million in the e-learning program, providing laptops, tablets, and other devices to all students and teachers from preschool all the way to secondary schools. We have started distributing over $1 million worth of furniture to address the serious problem we face, having to abandon double-sitting arrangements as we ensure schools are compliant with the COVID-19 protocols. Despite the significant financial challenges and demands that government face, we have been able to continuously meet our monthly salary commitments to teachers, approximately $85 million annually to date. Our government, when it came into office in 2013, met a situation where teachers went for 4 long years with no salary increases. Our government, from 2013 until last year, 2020, paid salary increases and increments every year to teachers and public officers. From 2013 to 2020, in excess of $130 million has been paid in salary increases only. We paid in 2020 and did not even consider withdrawing that increase on the onset of the pandemic here in Grenada. We remain committed to honoring the agreement between the government and the union for 2021, but is unable to do so now because of the financial implications of COVID-19, as stated before.
So, Kenny, you have heard that, and your thoughts, I suppose you've heard it and you've tossed some of the thoughts in your head. Let me first go to Daisy and ask her for her response to that. The minister has made a case, and some people have been criticizing teachers and some of the public officers for taking action when there are about 14,000 workers who have been placed on the breadline because of COVID-19. They're saying you should be grateful that you have a job. Daisy?
Thank you, Odette. I'm quite happy to respond here. We are aware that there are workers in this country, in the region, and across the entire world that have lost their jobs due to COVID-19. We are not unaware of that. We know as well that as a public sector, our jobs were not affected, and so also were salaries. But that's a different discussion, Odette. Let me respond to some of the points that were made here. The point was made that for 4 long years, teachers received no salary increases, and the government paid salary increases after assuming office in 2013. So, it is possible to speak fact, but not be truthful to the truth. And I think this is what we heard here tonight. And I want to say this very gently, because the reality is that in the last 20 or more years, the NNP administration has been in government far more than any other political party in this country. The NDC only was responsible for the governance of this country between 2008 to 2013. From 2005 back to 2019, the public service as a collective, not just teachers, and I have to stick a point a little later on that, made sacrifices. Every time that there is a problem in this country, that the economy has a problem, 911, 2004 Hurricane Ivan, and we can come right down the line, public servants are called upon to make the adjustment and to go it out. For all of those years, 2005, come right down the line, we went without salary increases. We do not get bonuses. We do not receive emoluments. There is never a time within the public service when you go beyond the call of duty and you work, and someone will come and say, here is a letter of commendation, and we also are going to give you $200, $300, whatever is done in the private sector as a motivation, as a thank you for what you've done. That doesn't happen in the public service. So to say that, in 2013, teachers received money, received salary increases, that negates the fact of all the sacrifice, the homegrown program, which affected, again, all public servants. We received no salary increases. So when we received a salary increase in 2019, Odette, and the public, it was against the backdrop that for more than 15 years, we have done the sacrifice. And we have been told, let us do the shared sacrifice so that we can share in the benefit. But time has proven that the only persons, it seems, that cannot ever get to sharing benefits in this country are public servants. I want to speak also about the discourse on the injections of cash that has been placed into the education sector. And I would like to ask, what else would the government of Grenada would have wanted to do? That is your charge. That is your responsibility. You have asked us as a nation to put the governance of this country into your hands so that you can manage and direct our affairs. And so certainly we expect you to provide desks and furniture and to pay our teachers, pay our civil servants. You're not doing anyone a favor. You're not doing something outside of what you're expected to do. We all know the science and the literature and the review shows that what lifts a country, a less developed country like ours, without much valuable resources, natural resources, out of poverty, what can take generations from place to place, can earn can make better living, earn better salaries and do better, it's education. The single most fundamental thing that can lift our country out of poverty is investment into education of our young people and continuing education for adults. So there is no favor that the government of Grenada has been doing for the public by looking after the affairs of the Ministry of Education. There is no favor that is being done when resources are pumped into healthcare, because if you're not healthy, if our nation is sick, if we cannot access good healthcare, and we're not healthy, we cannot work. So
Daisy,
you know, the point,
right.
the arguments,
I think we get
arguments.
I think we get a point. I wanted to ask Kenny for his thoughts. Kenny, Penny, for your thoughts on the minister's discourse there.
I am happy that Daisy would have sat in the classroom because she is spot on in terms of her response. The bottom line is all that has been listed is what the government is expected to do as the employer in its provision of education across this country. As it relates to salaries, I want the nation to understand, I want the world to gain an appreciation for the fact that when we were sent home on the 13th of March last year, when this COVID situation hit, we were 2 weeks from our holidays. At that point, in most, if not all schools in Grenada, grades were already calculated for the term because we were going into the period of our national primary school sports and intercall, etc., etc. So we may have gotten an early 2-week vacation. But when that Easter break was up, teachers were online in whatever form, on their phones, on their laptops, on their personal equipment, and they got to work. So when we were paid during the COVID period, we were not paid because we were sitting idly. We were paid because we worked. And the parents of this nation, they are aware that we worked and hence we were paid. We offered labor and we got the reward, which is our salary. On a final note, Odette, I want to bring to your attention, because I've heard this thing over and over. There's an agreement that was signed for the period 2006 to 2008. Sister Beryl Isaac was the leader of the team, the government's team. Mr. Marvin Andal, our current president, was leading us then. On the 18th of June, 2008, an agreement was signed between the government of Grenada and the GUT for salaries. Now, it meant that this had to be paid during the 2009-2010 period because the agreement was signed in June of 2008. We have another agreement, which my signature is affixed to, because I was the president of the GUT at the time, that runs from 2009 to 2012, which was a negotiating period. So to say that no increases were issued during that period is not correct. The 2008 increases that was agreed to had to be paid during that period, and then we entered into negotiations. So that negotiation ended on the 13th of December, 2012. Now, when the NNP administration got back into office, they then approached the unions to have a rescheduling of the payments that was agreed to for that period. So I believe we must put everything in its proper context. It was a period of negotiating. And when it had ended, of course, the government of the day at the time fell apart. And so the incoming administration had no choice but to engage unions and to pay the monies. So all of this, there are a lot of facts, but I would say that a lot of it is inappropriately used.
All right, so inappropriately used, I think, is a phrase that I will coin. I will owe you some kind of copyright on that, right? Just for the way you use that phrase. Livingston, I have a question for you, but first I want to go back to some of the music. We have this excerpt, Workers Chanting, and with the audio and some of the covers from last week. Let's go to that and we come back. We're taking a musical interlude and we come back. So, Kenny, before I cross to Livingston, you don't think it's sacrilegious that you union people will take some of the gospel songs and turn them into this kind of carnival-like activity, as the police described it?
I wouldn't say it's carnival-like activities. I would say it's an expression of the people and the fact that the people, we also spiritual beings. And whenever we hurt, one of the first places that we go is to God, because we believe that he is the one that could help us in every situation. You know, in this struggle, we had a prayer meeting across the nation as teachers.
Okay, I'd leave that question right there, Kenny, because I saw somebody on social media saying, vote Daisy Hazzard for Prime Minister of Grenada, go straight to the queue. I think between the two of you know. Livingston, let me leave those two politicians on top of there, right? They're under the union banner right now. We don't know 5 years from now in what capacity we'll be addressing them. So, Livingston, you heard like a tree planted by the waters, and then we hear pay us with whatever money. I couldn't make out the words there. If you could interpret for me, I'd be happy. So, Livingston, your take on the way that played out in the streets last week? Unmute your mic, Livingston. You forget.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was not. I was not hearing the words clearly what they were chanting, but obviously, I don't know, because usually these things are not planned, Odette. I have been around in things like that, and people come up. It's just a matter of the feeling, what they think is what most appropriately address the concern or express the feeling at the moment. And so the chanting go on. And as Kenny said, we are religious people. We always look to chants or some rhythm that is hot, and we freeze, we put our word in it to ensure that we get a message across. And I believe that the message really went across to those that needed to hear it. And I believe that, I think it really was a wake-up call, because some of the other, the government believed that the unions were trampled, but the union responded. They came back in a nice way, and I think they really captured the attention. And what other way to capture the attention of John Public? Because by having the whistles and the drums and the peal and the chants, that is how we get our message across. That is how we protest. That is how we try to win the hearts of others to see our cry and our plight.
So, Daisy, I'm stuttering because I see 5 minutes to 10 o'clock on the clock, and we have like 10 things I want to raise. Livingston, your question to come, some people are saying that this is reminiscent of the 1970s leading up to 1979. Daisy, I had to take only 30 seconds to answer this one. Some people are asking, where were the Public Workers Union, and why have the Public Workers Union seems to have sat back and allowed the teachers to take the lead on this? You only have 30 seconds to take that one.
I just want to say that as a former teacher and a present public officer, there is a level of energy that runs in the blood of a teacher because of what we do day to day. Our public servants, make no mistake that our public servants are there and are poised to be at the forefront. Tomorrow, a new leadership takes effect in the form of Brother Brian Grimes with a new executive. We are excited, and we have great plans for our union to rebuild the strength of our union, to mobilize and motivate our workers who are already chomping at the bit. And so definitely we are going to see our workers out. But at one point I want to make,
Daisy,
our nurses or doctors or healthcare sector, when they're in the middle of a surgery, they will not leave the patient on the bed to die and take to the streets. So that's one of the differences. Our policemen, as much as they would like to protest, cannot, because they are in national security.
But there are some officers who are sitting in the ministerial complex who are public officers. I'm just leaving. Let's just drop down right there, because like I said, I see the clock ticking down on us. There's a statement from the police that came out on Friday, the Royal Grenada Police Force, and we can put it up on the screen. The Royal Grenada Police Force concerned that organizations and groups have been participating in demonstrations, protests, actions, vigils, and other social activities in direct violation of the emergency powers regulations. While it is appreciated that peaceful protest is an integral part of any practice in democracy and that there is no attempt to unlawfully stifle or hinder the rights of anyone to exercise such freedom, it must be conducted within the parameters of existing legislative frameworks. In recent times, the carnival-like demonstrations of teachers and public officers through the streets of Grenada, flouting the statutory necessity for the wearing of face masks or covering, social distancing, and the need for permission from the relevant authority are stark examples of this trend. The police has engaged the leadership of the teachers' union, who acknowledged and apologized. Similarly, there's an ongoing endeavor to meet with other offending parties to encourage with the lawful requirements. The RGPF has chosen the path of forbearance in enforcing the COVID-19 regulations. This is evident through dialogue and collaboration in the context of the prevailing economic realities. However, should the violations continue, the response from the RGPF will be urgent and decisive to ensure compliance with the regulations. So the police is saying that they have practiced forbearance in the context of the prevailing socioeconomic conditions. However, should the violations continue, the response will be urgent and decisive. Kenny, did the unions fall down last week by flouting the regulations?
Odette, as my president did indicate, the leadership of the GUT did apologize for the fact that the route which was taken by some members was not the agreed route. But we did not apologize for protesting. And of course, we appreciate the fact that the Royal Grenada Police Force has a responsibility to maintain law and order, and they have their jobs to do. But we're also aware that as educators, we also have a job to do. And part of that job is teaching our nation's youth, teaching our nation's children that it is important to stand up for what is right. It is important to stand up for what is just. Now, I grew up in a time when we knew about heavy manners. If there are those who want to go back to the days of heavy manners, it's not anything new for some of us, but one would recall the end result of these things. And I'm sure we would not want to be anywhere near that at this point in our history.
Kenny, you have skipped past the issue. You flouted the regulations. We saw several people who were not wearing masks. Are you condoning that?
And I saw a lot who were wearing masks. And we are not saying, and this is what I'm saying, we have apologized for the fact that there were things that could have been done better, that weren't done better. And as leadership, we have seen that, but there were those without, and there are those with. Now, is that the main issue? Are we going to start to look at stopping the buses on the road to determine how many persons on the buses are wearing masks? I saw some beautiful Palm Sunday marches, which I am in full support of, but have we been monitoring these to see who's wearing and who's not wearing? Or that there's a lot here that must be considered. We were in open space. And again, we are told that we don't have any community spread and that the cases that we have are managed at the port of entry. And we trust our administration that they've told us that, and we believe that they've been doing an excellent job in managing the COVID. And so if they say to us there isn't community spread, we understand that within measure, we must ensure that we do what we do, but of course, abiding by the necessary laws and protocol.
So there are threats that the actions will escalate. Livingston, some people are saying we're looking back at the 1970s, and we know we culminated in 1979, the Grenada Revolution. Do you have any concerns that are we headed in certain dark periods?
Well, Odette, I just recognize the statement by the police is very high, heavy-handed. I don't see the need for the threats. The police should be more a service, wanting to work with the general populace and recognizing the plight of the various unions, should be trying to negotiate and work with this. I don't see the need for the threats. I mean, and permit me, I just have to stray for 30 seconds. It's the same way the police come on the street when they're dealing with vendors. People been vending in one area, and the police come without any notice, without any dialogue, and they just believe that they have to bulldoze the way through. I don't think that is the kind of police force we need in this time. The police force could continue the earlier statement in that they expect the citizens to follow the protocol. I think that is good enough. And, they expect that big people should remain macho and follow without the actual threat. Apart from that, what's about the fact that we had a very large funeral in Carriacou? And the gathering was huge, as Kenny said. What about the buses? What about the fact that you had a regatta organized by the regatta in Carriacou, organized by the Minister of Carriacou Affairs? Did anybody apologize? Was any threat laid that if something like that happened, that the police would ensure that they arrest the guilty ones? What about the fact that the same Minister of Carriacou Affairs had a birthday party with a string band, flaunting all the protocols? Why the double standard? Why can't we remain consistent in our application? And for matter of fact, why you have to threaten these citizens in a time like now? So yes, I see a semblance. I see a similarity. I don't think that is necessarily this time. And we all could learn from that era. And the police need to talk and work together with the citizens rather than trying to play heavy-handed and going back to the days of heavy manners. That is not an era we need right now.
So it might be constituted as a threat, but Kenny, I don't think it's a scripture, but there's something where people say, word to the wise is sufficient. You agree?
Of course, on all sides. I mean, Odette, we have. Let us not mix the matters here. As educators, we are concerned about the safety of our nation, because if our health is not intact, we can't function. The human resources of this country is the best thing that we have. It's our greatest investment, and we must protect that, and we must ensure that it's healthy, right? But understanding these parameters, I guess we should now move to solving this issue. Because we talk a lot, but the bottom line is there's an agreement that says that public officers should have received a 4% salary increase since January of this year that they have not yet received. So, to solve this matter, our administration, the government of Grenada, needs to come to the table with a proposal that's reasonable, that the workers, the public officers of this country could accept, and that we can lay this issue to rest. And every one of us would be comfortable.
All right. Point and closing thoughts there from Kenny James. Jenny, Daisy, you have 30 seconds for closing thoughts.
And my closing thoughts, Odette, is that a 4% increase in salary to public officers, NAWASA, all the other statutory organizations, teachers, policemen, or healthcare sector, all of the public services combined, a 4% increase takes away nothing from Grenada. What it does at this time will inject some necessary cash into a contracting economy and float it. Because certainly when a public service officer receives a 4% increase of salary, that might be in some cases $40, $80, $60, that money will go right back into the economy. And I want to also urge the government, rather than using the collective weight of the system to send out threats and warnings and to sort of subvert peaceful protests, which is what we can assume is happening here, I would want to urge, as Brother Kenny said, let us sit down and put this matter to rest. Our country should not be at unease and ill at ease because of a 4% issue. It's only a mere 4%. And it will take away nothing from any Grenadian. It adds nothing to deny public officers the 4%, but it will certainly add, it will redound in the economy. It will redound back to those persons in the hospitality and tourism industry who have been forced to go into cottage industries and offer services and products based on their skills. We would be able to purchase all of those. So I want to urge us, let common sense, let good faith prevail so that we can resolve this matter harmoniously and peacefully for the good of our country.
And I gave you 30 seconds, you took 3 minutes, but now I'm going to ask you to take 15 seconds to say whether you agree with somebody on social media who is saying that the government is taking advantage of the backbiting and the infighting within the PW, and they outsmarted the unions by, on the eve of the election, signing this gratuity agreement. 15 seconds, Daisy.
I want to say, Odette, that there is a government in office, and at some point we have to have a level of good faith and trust when we go and sit at the table with government. So there's no reflection at all on the union when government reneges on legal obligations and signed MOU. It's a direct reflection on the government and what we can derive from that about their character, about their intention, not just for the public service, but for this country. And we are on top of our business in PWU. As I've said before, tomorrow a new executive under new leadership in the former brother Brian Grimes takes over, and we are excited about the future and taking the PWU to greater heights. It is a strong and powerful union. We have the strongest membership in all of the public service, and that certainly will be reflected in the coming months and years.
And to our cultural activist, Mr. Livingston Nelson, the last word of the night belongs to you.
Yeah, well, Odette, I believe, frankly, the state of this country is really not a very healthy one. And I don't know yea or nay, but I also believe that priority, a matter of why do you need the traffic light? Why do you need the upgrade of the airport right now? Why do you need, why don't you focus on giving due to people that have merits? So I think if the government really focus on what is necessary and stop what I would call the vindictiveness against the union, in particularly the teachers, I believe they could sit down in good faith and work all the deal with all the public workers. I believe it is due to them, and now is a good time as ever to ensure that we can go forward and with a new split and take Grenada forward.
Thank you very much to panelists, Mr. Kenny James. He is the immediate past president of the Grenada Union of Teachers. He came on in his capacity simply as a trade unionist. Ms. Daisy Hazzard, the Public Relations Officer of the Public Workers Union, and our cultural activist, Mr. Livingston Nelson. I'm your presenter, Odette Campbell. On behalf of the entire team at the GBN who worked to make this program possible, we'd like to say a very special thank you to those of you who tuned in via radio and television, also via our social media platforms, especially our people living near and far in Iceland and Trinidad, the USA, Canada, wherever you tuned in from this evening. We want to say a very special thank you to those of you who gave us feedback. We want to say a very special thank you as well. We'll see you again, not next week, but the following one, because Monday coming, it's a holiday. It's Easter Monday. The Prime Minister gives an address on Wednesday. It will be interesting to hear what he has to say, so don't forget to tune in to GBN at 8 p.m. on Wednesday for the Prime Minister's national address. So long for now. It's been great running this journey and sticking with you for another hour. So long. We'll see you again. God bless. Stay safe.